Now we have just set some fish free in this aquarium. When you've got a tank this big, these are like the chosen fish. Because if you're a fish, this is the tank you definitely want to end up in. When you first release the fish, they're going to do this, which is they're all going to huddle together and try to feel safe. You'll find that fish are quite shy when you first introduce them, especially to an inland sea like this. So what we need to do now that we've put the fish in is keep an eye on the ammonia and nitrite level. Right now this has a very low nitrite level, so detoxifying the nitrite on a daily basis with a 5 times dose of Waterager will ensure that the nitrite is not actually a problem, because Waterager, such as Safe or Prime, will detoxify ammonia and nitrite so it's harmless to the fish, even though you do actually get a test of it. Then over a period of time, good bacteria is going to grow in this tank. You can also add good bacteria products that will speed up the growth of this bacteria, because once again, you start off with a sterile environment and then good bacteria is going to start growing. You're also going to get a bit of bacteria growing in the water, which can cause the water to be not completely clear. And then as the bacteria establishes in the filter, then the water will clear up and the ammonia and nitrite will break down into nitrate. So you want to keep an eye on your pH, KH and GH during that time. Keep an eye on your temperature and really just watch the behavior of your fish. If you notice your fish becoming inactive and gasping, then that's a bad thing. And if in doubt with anything that you see with the fish, what you want to do is grab a little sample of water out of the tank and make a little video of the tank running and come down and see us so we can designate what's going on. But basically the plan is add some fish, wait for about 2 weeks, let the good bacteria grow in the filter, get your water tested. Once you've got a 0 ammonia and nitrite level, you then can consider adding another little batch of fish. For a tank this size, like 20 fish, that's fine. You could add like another 20 fish. Then you wait another 2 weeks. Then bring another sample of water and video down. Then you can look at adding another set of fish. Now a tank this big could basically capacitate to the tune of 100 fish. But you do need to be aware that as the fish grow, you do need to make room for your fish growth. And if you don't make room for your fish growth, then Mother Nature will make room for your fish growth. So basically every single environment has got what's called a biological capacity. And if you exceed that biological capacity, then Mother Nature will knock some fish off. So this is something that you're probably going to look at being an issue in a few years' time. The other thing you need to be aware of when you're populating a tank like this is who's the dominant fish in the tank. Because basically, while they're all young, you'll find that they all get along really well. But then as they get older, they may start becoming disputes about who's boss over who and who lives in what cave and stuff like that. So you need to just keep an eye on that. Now, basically, a good boss should give all the fish a bit of a hurry along, but not hurt anybody. But if you get a bad boss, then you'll see him like just chasing particular fish. And if you see the boss damaging fish, then you've got to vote that boss out of power and get a new boss. Because a good boss should be giving everyone a little bit of a hurry along, but not necessarily hurting anyone. In a tank as big as this one, you're pretty much going to get away with murder. Because the tank's so big that fish will be able to sort of find their own space. The only rule that you just cannot avoid is the size of mouth rule. If you have a fish with a mouth large enough to eat the smaller fish, regardless of the type of fish, you've got to assume that that fish is probably going to get eaten. And once again, when you grow the fish up from young and they all get to know each other and they all sort out their dominance and their hierarchy and their place in the world, then you'll find that you get away with murder. If you go and try and mix all those same fish, but you put them all in as adults, the chance of them all coexisting is actually far lower. Just like if you get someone from Iran and someone from Iraq and someone from China and someone from Australia and throw them all in as adults, they may not really understand each other and get along. Chuck them all in as babies and they don't know any different to each other, and then Bob's your uncle. Now, the other thing to be aware of when introducing fish to a tank like this too is that as time goes on, fish will become territorial to different parts of the aquarium. And if you are experiencing any issues with territoriality or dominance or whatever, then one of the best things to do is just rearrange the tank. So if you're having personality disputes within the fish and you're adding fish and the new ones are getting bashed or something silly like that, something's good is either just move all the rocks down one end for a while, pull the rocks out for a while, or do whatever you can to disorientate the fish that are in there so they don't recognize their territory as clearly, and that will make them more accepting of new fish if they think they're in a new place, because their territories will be geographically marked. And if you change it all around, then the territories are geographically different, and therefore your new fish have got an opportunity to find a place to get along. So once again, in a tank like this, you're going to get away with all sorts of craziness because the tank's so big. But then if you are noticing any behavior which is troublesome, then just try and grab your phone out and make a bit of a video of that behavior and come down and see us with a sample of water, because the water quality can also affect the behavior of the fish, because if the fish are stressed, they can also become more aggressive. So also things like KH, if you've got a 0 KH, that can encourage fish to try and ingest each other's skins and scales in order to ingest calcium carbonate. So there is things we can learn from the water quality, and there is things that we can comment on in regards to populations of fish. If you've got a real big tank and you don't have many fish, then the fish tend to hide a lot more. They tend to be a whole heap more stressed, and they tend to be more aggressive. If you have more fish, then they tend to be less aggressive.